At first glance, the rise of this K-pop project feels almost unreal. Too clean, too fast. A brand new name appears in the industry, and before the public can even decide how they feel, the trophies are already lining up. Wins that many idols chase for years arrive within months, creating a gap between achievement and acceptance that immediately triggers suspicion. In K-pop, when success moves faster than consensus, the accusation writes itself. Bot awards. Bot influence. Bot legitimacy. It's a narrative fans recognize instantly because it offers something simple. A villain, a shortcut, and a reason to dismiss discomfort without examining the system behind it. But once the noise fades, the truth becomes far more unsettling. Power in K-pop rarely operates through obvious corruption. It doesn't need cash-filled envelopes or secret deals. It flows quietly, through familiarity, access, and assumed credibility. It looks like executives already knowing who you are. It feels like broadcasters being comfortable before you ever prove yourself on stage. When defenders argue that awards weren't literally purchased, they're probably right. Yet when critics point out that background, image, and perceived status open doors automatically, that's where the real tension begins. Nepotism in K-pop isn't messy or loud. It's polished, invisible, and efficient. The system doesn't need to be forced when it already wants to cooperate. A powerful association acts like an unspoken resume, signaling safety to sponsors and low risk to award shows. No one needs to say it out loud, but everyone behaves as if the outcome is already understood. This is how fast-tracking really works, not through scandal, but through convenience. And even if success is later earned through hard work, the doubt never leaves. The wins arrive early, but suspicion follows forever. If you want to understand how influence truly moves behind the K-pop spotlight, follow the channel, subscribe, and keep watching because this story is only getting started. What turns quiet discomfort into open controversy isn't just how fast the success arrived, but how K-pop fans have been trained to interpret awards as moral verdicts rather than calculated business outcomes. In this industry, trophies are framed as proof of endurance. Years of visibility, cultural saturation so deep the music becomes unavoidable. Awards are expected to come at the end of a long, public struggle, not at the beginning. So when a rookie project starts collecting top-tier recognition before the wider audience can even agree on its impact, something feels fundamentally out of place. That unease doesn't automatically signal corruption, it signals a disruption in timing. Historically, the biggest wins followed moments when songs reshaped the sound of the year, when groups dominated charts, trends, and conversations so completely that resistance collapsed. The industry didn't have to convince anyone because the evidence was everywhere. Popularity and prestige moved together, reinforcing each other until the outcome felt inevitable. But when prestige arrives before cultural consensus, the system exposes its shortcuts. Award shows aren't neutral judges of art. They are risk management machines designed to protect sponsors, maintain ratings, and preserve clean narratives. A project surrounded by influence, connections, and media-friendly optics becomes a safer investment than one still fighting for clarity. Not because the latter lacks talent, but because uncertainty makes gatekeepers nervous. This is how structural bias replaces fairness without ever announcing itself. The system doesn't need bad intentions to skew results. It simply rewards proximity to power. Once that pattern is established, it becomes permanent. Every future achievement is filtered through doubt. Even genuine growth is dismissed as prepackaged success. Early privilege doesn't just accelerate a career, it stains it. And that's how a project can keep winning while steadily losing credibility in the court of public perception. As the argument over legitimacy drags on, the conflict refuses to stay confined to charts or award statistics. It turns inward, and the idols themselves become the battlefield. At this stage, success is no longer the issue. Visibility is. Every movement is scrutinized. Every expression is slowed down, cropped, and replayed until ordinary behavior is recast as evidence. Routine moments at crowded award shows stop being neutral events and start functioning as moral trials, especially once the label of undeserving has already taken hold. Etiquette becomes the sharpest weapon in these conflicts. Bowing, hierarchy, and seniority, cultural practices shaped by context and situation, are flattened into rigid rules by fans who only understand them through viral clips and selective translations. A brief nod is reframed as arrogance. A polite bow becomes disrespect because it wasn't deep enough, long enough, or dramatic enough. Context disappears the moment competition enters the room. What's rarely acknowledged is that many idols being defended behave the same way in similar situations, but consistency collapses when bias takes over. This isn't about cultural respect, it's about selective enforcement. Fans perform expertise when it strengthens their argument, then abandon those same standards the moment their favorite does the bare minimum. The targets follow a predictable pattern: young idols who rise too quickly, visible enough to threaten existing hierarchies, popular enough to provoke resentment, exposed enough to be punished without consequence. Neutral expressions are twisted into proof of bad attitude. Ordinary interactions are transformed into character flaws. What this obsession reveals is how quickly fandom morality erodes under pressure. Respect stops being about intent and becomes a loyalty test. The higher an idol climbs, the harsher the scrutiny becomes, not because they've done something wrong, but because visibility invites projection. The industry rewards power quietly. Fans punish it loudly, using culture as camouflage. The conversation shifts the moment numbers enter the equation. Because nothing ignites K-pop fan wars faster than views. Music videos rack up massive counts within hours. And almost immediately, accusations of manipulation flood timelines. Bot views becomes the default verdict, delivered with confidence by people who rarely stop to question how digital promotion actually works. The claim sounds explosive, but it only holds weight if you pretend K-pop exists outside modern marketing systems. The uncomfortable reality is that platforms like YouTube were never neutral arenas. They are advertising ecosystems designed to reward visibility, not authenticity. Paid promotion, algorithmic amplification, and organic fandom streaming all merge into a single public number that fans insist on treating as moral proof. When companies run ads, those views still count. Not as fraud, not as cheating, as part of the system itself. Large budgets don't hide in the shadows. They operate openly, normalized by the platform, and quietly accepted across the industry. What fans struggle to accept is that numbers measure reach, not devotion. Some views come from loyal fans replaying obsessively. Others come from casual viewers encountering an ad and scrolling past seconds later. Many are the result of calculated exposure designed to make a project feel unavoidable. None of this is rare, and none of it is illegal, yet the illusion of purity is easier to defend than the truth. The real discomfort comes from realizing how easily perception can be engineered, how momentum can be manufactured, and how willingly fandoms participate in inflating dominance while insisting it appeared organically. By the time these arguments peak, the question is no longer whether the numbers are real. It's whether authenticity ever stood a chance in a system built to sell scale above all else. By the time all of these arguments collide, something far more unsettling becomes impossible to ignore. The boundary between fans, critics, and the online communities Western audiences claim to reject begins to dissolve. The same behaviors once blamed on toxic netizens quietly resurface in English-speaking spaces, repackaged with different language but driven by the same impulse. The framing changes. The cruelty doesn't. Outrage simply learns a new accent. When Korean online communities criticize an idol international fans already support, the reaction is immediate and defensive. The culture is labeled harsh. The standards are called unforgiving. Mental health becomes the shield, and the narrative centers on protecting idols from an oppressive system. But the moment those same spaces turn their attention toward an idol deemed expendable, everything flips. Suddenly, those opinions are treated as objective truth. Their judgments gain authority. Their attacks are reframed as cultural insight rather than harassment. This isn't respect for Korean culture. It's convenience. Culture becomes a tool, pulled out only when it validates a pre-existing bias. Millions of fragmented voices are flattened into a single verdict because it simplifies judgment. Korea hates her becomes justification. Korea supports my favorite becomes evidence. The messy reality that online opinion is emotional, divided, and constantly shifting is erased entirely. What's most disturbing is how openly punishment becomes entertainment. Public shaming turns into content. Accountability becomes performance. Fans dissect humiliation in real time while insisting they're only analyzing the industry. They hide behind translations, viral clips, and anonymous posts, distancing themselves from the harm by blaming a system they are actively recreating. That's the darkest irony of all. The pressure fans claim destroys idols didn't disappear. It multiplied. K-pop's most ruthless dynamics didn't stay confined to one country. They were exported, amplified, and normalized globally, often with even less accountability than before. Influence gets rewarded quietly. Resentment gets weaponized loudly. And idols are left absorbing the fallout from narratives they never controlled. If you want more unfiltered breakdowns of K-pop scandals, power struggles, fandom wars, and the uncomfortable truths hidden beneath the glamour, subscribe to the channel, hit like, share your thoughts in the comments, and stay tuned for what comes next. Because in K-pop, the spotlight never tells the whole story, and this conversation is far from over.